Hello and welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures. Welcome back to the Arctic Cat Wildcat thing. I think the last time you saw this, we took it out for its first ride, took Ma out. That was a good fun time, until it wasn't. And, the belt broke. So that's what we're doing today. We're replacing the belt. Stick around. First things first, though, we've got to be able to get at it. And, well, there's not a lot of room, to work on it. We've got, the purple rainforest, Captain No Brakes, Captain Leans a lot back there in the corner, and the belt is there. So I've got to move things around a bit in here, as you can imagine, so I can get at that belt. All right, Billy, let's see if you're going to fire up. Oh, yeah. Gotta love the power steering, man. Okay. And I got to push it. Oh, yes. Here we go. Yep. Yep. Let's see if that's going to be enough room. Yeah, I think that'll do. So quite honestly, I should be working on that thing right now, but I have to always move the Arctic Cat in and out to get, that pulled over so I can work on it. Well, now that it won't move under its own power, that's a bit more difficult, as you would imagine. So we got to change the belt so we can go ahead and, move it in and out freely. That belt exists in there inside that clutch cover on the passenger side. To get that, we need to take the wheel off. Well, first we need to jack it up, put it up in the air, take the wheel off, remove the shock absorber, and then we can get to that. So I'm going to go ahead and find all of the necessary to go ahead and make all that happen. We're going to attempt to go ahead and pick this up right here with a block of wood, because safety first. Well, it looks like that may be far enough. Yeah, I think we can get that wheel off now. Super. Of course, we're dealing with the Arctic Cat here, so everything is going to be metric now. There we go. Well, what size do we reckon that is? I don't know. The top one's got a nut on the back, bolt on the front. I think this one just has the bolt on the front. I don't think it has a nut on the back. Let's try 13 millimeter and see if that fits. Oh, yeah. Well, the nut on the back is bigger than the bolt on the front. Is it a 15 up there? Bigger than that. Okay. Shall we try 17? 17 it is. Well, the bolt came out and it wanted to go up of all things. We must have pressure on this. That's very interesting. Oh, there we go. Lovely. I believe we have to undo this clamp so we can scoot this thing out of the way. Oh, chunks of belt are just falling out of that too. Well, where does this go? It said undo that. But then what do you do with it? I don't know. Let's take the bottom one off too. There's more chunks of belt. Well, these are loose. They're not even, barely even on here. I'm glad we took that off because look at that. You ever wonder what happens to your belt when you break one? Now you know. Holy smokes. Okay, well now we need 1,000,000 Torx screws to come out, which is fantastic. And we're even missing one down here. That's even more fantastic. And this one's loose. What is going on with this rig here? I just lost my screwdriver. That's fine. Let's see if this is the right size. Torx 30, yeah, that seems to be the right size. I still haven't figured out why Arctic Cat felt the need to use Torx bits on literally everything around this rig. Okay. Well, what are you supposed to do with this thing? How do I get this out now? What am I missing? Okay, well, I've discovered something, and that is by picking up this side all the way, it put pressure on the other side, which then made the sway bar lift up a little bit, and well, that's caused this to be in the way still. So I put a jack on the other side, and as I picked it up more, it seems like it gave me more clearance here. I'm going to see if I can give it just a little more and see if that, oh, well, the jack's kind of all the way up. Which leads me to ask myself another question. What happens if I'm on the trail and have to do all this? I'm not going to have two jacks. I mean, I did buy a jack for this thing to mount on the roll bar, as you can see right here. But what happens if I have to do this, you know, on the trail? I'm not going to have two jacks. Well, I suppose on the trail, if I had to, I could unbolt the sway bar over here on this side, and that would probably do it. May have to still do that here. Anyway, let's see if we can get this off now. I still don't know what to do with this thing, but this now seems to have the clearance to get it out. But what do I do with the, what do you do with this stupid thing? All right, well, let's see if we can, there doesn't seem to be a good way to do this. There's more belt falling out. Okay, there we go, finally. Well, that cover, it's a bit messy. That belt made a mess. Okay, now can this come out? No. Well, what were they thinking? Who designed this? Anyway, the good thing is around the primary clutch I don't feel any belt debris. Oh, it's the rapid response clutch. I don't know what that means, but that means something. Okay. Now, I said there was no debris, but I've got a string of something here. Great. Well, we've got to take this off. I know that to be a 19 millimeter, and I think we need to make a mark on something so we line it back up properly. So let's get something to do that. And I think what we'll do is we'll just make a mark here and here that tells us the orientation on how that goes together. Great. Super tight. Wonderful. For reference, this particular bolt is only supposed to be torqued to 60 foot-pounds, and if this was torqued correctly, that should have broken off pretty easy. But now we're going to have to convince it. There it goes. Okay. When you pull this off, you've got, of course, your bolt, you have your washer, but you've got some shims behind it. Make sure you do not lose those shims. There we go. And then we can pull that off, and then we can view the goodness that is what's left of a belt. And it is cooked in here. Another thing you want to make sure you have on a trail is some sort of knife to be able to cut what's left of the belt that is wrapped around your clutch. It looks like we got it all, except, yeah. Also, try not to ruin your gasket. The other thing I have to do is get off this drive clutch. There's some belt stuffed behind the one-way bearing, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get that out. This particular clutch is, well, it's, what's the word? It's connected to the crankcase. Crankshaft, sorry. It's connected to the crankshaft, so obviously I'm not going to be able to turn it, except for I did turn it. Okay. Let's see if I can get it. Feels like I'm starting to get this little bit of belt out. Let's get this gasket out of here. Let's not break the gasket. Come on now. Let me do some thinking on this and see if I can figure out a way to get the rest of that belt out. Just for reference, what I'm looking at is this here, and it is jammed up and wrapped around the bearing on the back side. So, you know, that's going to have to go ahead and come out, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get that out, but I think what I'm going to do is catch back up with you and see what I figure out. All right, well, just a little bit more patience and some pliers and some scraped knuckles, and I was able to get the rest of that belt out. Now I've gone ahead and cleaned up the surfaces of the clutch with a Scotch-Brite pad with some Dawn dish soap on there, and then wiped it down. You can see that looks quite a bit better. I think I probably should run a vacuum cleaner in there to make sure we don't have any more clutch bits, because that's what's left of our belt. Did I say clutch bits? I meant belt bits, because, you know. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, stick a vacuum in there and clean all that up, and then we're going to get to replacing it with this. I picked this up from the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Squared website. This is the Gates G-Force Redline belt, part number 28R3636. And I bought two of them, one to mount on the, you know, the cage, right there. Okay, well, now that I have used the vacuum, and really it was already cleaned out, but you want to make sure, obviously on the trail you're not going to have a vacuum, but you can use your hands to get it all out. Same with the Scotch-Brite, you're not going to have soap and water. You might have water, but doubtful you have soap and the Scotch-Brite, but you know, it'll get you home if you just get in there, get all the junk out and change it. Let's go ahead and get this put in and put it back together. While I was thinking about all this though, you know, I have a jack on the other side to take some pressure off the sway bar. I guess on the trail it would make sense if you just disconnect the sway bar. You've got a bolt and a nut right there, or just a bolt on the back side of the bottom link, and then that way it would let this drop all the way. I didn't think about that, but it makes sense. Anyway, let's put the belt on. Now this belt doesn't have arrows, but it has writing, and to me it makes sense that the writing, you know, faces out. So we're just gonna work that in there like that. Now remember, before I made marks with a paint marker so we can line it back up in the right way, and well, that is this way. There we go. I want to make sure that this sits nice and loose back there. We've got our bolt with all the shims. And I'm going to go ahead and install this using a tool that I know I'm going to have on the trail, and that's just a 3/8 ratchet and 19mm socket. Okay, and that goes all the way down. That's nice. Okay. This torques to 60 foot-pounds. Now on the trail, you're not going to be able to do that. So, you know, I've got it in park, so the machine's holding itself where it is. So with a ratchet like this, you can just go as tight probably as you can with your arm. With a 3/8 ratchet, it's probably fair, but let's go ahead and get a torque wrench on and see how we did. So I'm going to do that right now. Let's go as tight as we can, like that. And let's see how we did from a torque setting standpoint. So the torque wrench is set at 60 foot-pounds, and let's see. Not much more. Not too bad. That looks good. That's torqued. Our paint marker line's lined up. Yep, and if you're out in the field and you don't have your paint, you can just scratch it with a screwdriver or something. That'll work just as well. Cover. Yeah. Well, here's the gasket. I think I have it backwards. There we go. Is that right? Nope, that's not right. It'll let you know if it's right or not, because the bolt holes won't line up. Okay, that looks right. And there is a little dowel pin at the rear. I forgot to clean the cover out. Let's go do that real quick. Well, the neighbors are jamming out to some, oh, oh, here she comes. She's a man-eater. Yeah, they are. Light it up and beat it. Yeah. That's what they're doing over there. Okay. Oh, here she comes. Oh, yeah. It's a good thing I'm not a singer. That's what I think. Dry this out. Lovely. Now for the joy, figuring out how to get this to go back in there. Because now I don't even know how I got it out. Well, why was that easier? Where is the thing with the long thing on it? What did I do with it? Oh, here it is, way over here. Okay. That may make things a little easier. Oh, there we go. I don't know if any of you remember, I don't have all the screws for some reason. Some are missing. So this is one of those cases where a nice wobble extension comes in handy. So I think what I'm going to do is probably put this in my tool bag for this unit. I don't need the whole set, but this particular extension, however many inches that is, 8 or 10 or whatever that is, with the wobble in that socket, really seems to do a nice job. Okay, now there's literally a million bolts that circle this cover here, but there are 5 that are longer than the other 12 or 16 or however many they are. And the longer ones, you know where they go. If you lose track of where they go, it's pretty easy. If you look, you have the bracket for the air box, and then you've got the bracket for this hose. That's 3, that's 2, and that's where they go. They go where the brackets are. Pretty easy, I think, to remember that. I'm going to go ahead and try to finish getting these together. This exhaust pipe here is probably the worst of this whole thing, is getting that thing to behave. And of course, I don't have all 5 of those long bolts. I only have 4 because some are missing. We've tightened up all the bolts that we have. We're missing one long one and two short ones. One long one, 2 short ones. Probably order an extra one so we can keep those in the tool bag in case we lose one in the field. We just have to hook up the exhaust vent tube and that'll be it. Well, how does it go? It went like this. Okay. Now that this is all put back together with a shiny new belt, we just have to put the shock back on and the tire back on. Okay, well, as you can see, we've got it back together now. Look, it wasn't that hard to put back together. You just put the shock back in the way it came out, 13 and 18 at the top and 13 at the bottom. Tighten them up as good as you can. Put the wheel back on, do the same thing, and it should be ready to go. Well, okay, let's see how we did. Well, I tell you, I never get tired of the way this thing sounds. Well, it moves. That's an improvement. However, I also noticed another improvement. It used to lurch real bad when you would be trying to just move it very slowly. It would lurch. Yeah, that's a lot better. Very nice. That makes me happy. Like I said, I will never get tired of the way that engine sounds. Well, I guess that's going to do it. We changed the belt on the Arctic Cat successfully, and it's nice now because now it doesn't seem to want to lurch as you're just trying to move it. So now we've got a few other things to do. You probably noticed the speaker thing is now gone because I just couldn't fit with my helmet. Just kept smacking it, you know. So I've got the wiring still to pull out from that. What else? The sway bar bushings, they're shot for some reason, so we're going to replace those. They're pretty simple. Just a couple of bolts, change them out, no big deal. And that should tighten this thing up for the next ride. I appreciate all of you for hanging out with me today. It means a lot to me. If you wouldn't mind, if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and do that. And tell your friends. Tell your friends to tell their friends. Check us out. We have a lot of fun making these videos and like to share that with you. In the meantime, you ride safe and we'll see you later. Bye-bye now.